Hello everyone, welcome into the video. We have breaking news. James Franklin has been fired as the Penn State Nittany Lion head coach. After 12 years, this year being his 12th year, he's done at Penn State. He was originally hired in 2014 and obviously now in 2025 he's been fired. To me, obviously the Oregon game was the tipping point. And a popular talking point was the fact that after the Oregon game, his tenure at Penn State in that program was going to go in one of two ways. Either it was going to be the kick in the behind that was like, all right, we're starting fresh, and we are going to be good, and we're going to win big games. We're going to do things a little bit differently to ensure that and rally behind James Franklin. Then there was another path that you could have gone down, and it seems that we've arrived at that of, wow, this is really just a program killer. Not program killer, but at the time, in this time, James Franklin killer. And like I said, that's clearly the path we've gone down. He is the second winningest coach at Penn State of all time, well, tied, with a record of 104 and 45. It's unfortunate, but the critique had always been there. He couldn't win the big game. Against the top 25, he was 15 and 28. It's not going to cut it. Against top 10 opponents, 4 and 21. It's just not going to cut it. The two best programs in the Big Ten for the past 10 or so years has been Ohio State, Michigan. His record against them is 4 and 17 combined. So you can't keep your job at a prestigious school with so much rich football history as Penn State. And, there's still always going to be a stigma around Penn State because of everything that happened. And, before, we're not going to get into that. But it just seems like Penn State can't catch a break. And it sucks because I think James Franklin's a good coach, and he's obviously a great person. I'm local to Vanderbilt University, and going and watching him coach at Vandy for 3 years was awesome. I think Franklin's a good coach. I think it got stale at Penn State, in my opinion. Another issue is Drew Aller. I call Drew Aller the Kellen Mond of the 2020s because Kellen Mond, every year he was at A&M, he was the same football player. He never got better. And it seems like Drew Aller just really hasn't gotten better. Now, there's been small strides, but he just hasn't gotten better. And I hate to kick a guy because, he's probably, I think he's out for the year now, so I'm not trying to kick him while he's down. But it's the reality. You have to be objective when talking about this stuff. And it sucks to see, but he just hasn't improved. Now we'll pray for his recovery, that everything's fine, that he can get back doing what he needs to do, doing what makes him happy. But he hasn't improved, and it's hurt James Franklin. But that's on James Franklin. He's the head coach. He hasn't put him in the position to succeed, clearly. Whoever's been in charge of his progression has not succeeded. Clearly, because Drew Aller hasn't succeeded. Looking back at last year, let's look at last year. So last year was obviously playoff or bust. 12-team playoff. Penn State fans were pretty happy off of what happened last year. You went to playoff games, but the most common critique was, well, you had the easiest path in the playoffs, and the playoffs were expanded. You had to expand the playoffs for you to get in. And, I understand the thinking. They went to the Big Ten championship game last year because Ohio State lost to Michigan. And Penn State did lose to Ohio State, but they were able to get into the Big Ten championship. They played a competitive game, even though Oregon controlled the game the whole time. They beat SMU in the first round of the playoffs at home, bloodied them. Then they handled Boise State really well. It wasn't even close. Then they, honestly, in my opinion, choke a game against Notre Dame that they probably should have won, but should have in football is exactly that, should have. So you lose in the semifinals. You come into this year, and obviously everyone was expecting title contention. I mean, to be honest, coming into this year, you look at these teams and you're like, okay, why is Penn State not the most complete team? And really the only reason people were reluctant to pick them to win the national championship is because of the big game woes. You know, the fact that they couldn't win the big games. But, you know, people were willing to put that to the side. I mean, I had them in my national championship. I had them winning the Big Ten. So it sucks because I had them so high. I believe preseason I had them ranked second. So it's a miscalculation by me, 100%. It's a miscalculation by the college football world, really. Now, obviously, you're going to get people on here talking, oh, I knew they weren't about, you know, okay, congrats, but nobody saw this coming. 3-3? Are you not even if you picked Penn State to start 3-3, that is just unbelievable. Congrats. You might need to go bet all your money on Black, because, my goodness. His best year at Penn State, I actually don't think was last year. I think it was when they went 11-3, 10-2 in the regular season, won the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin. This year, Saquon's, I think it was his senior year. It was 2016. But like I said, I mean, you start this year 3-3. No Power 4 wins. I actually started dropping Penn State a little bit. Not too much I haven't been able to put out rankings because I've been so busy. Ratings, I do power ratings. But I had already started dropping them a little bit, and I should have dropped them even more, I guess. I mean, they didn't look good in any of their wins, really. The score was fine, but, like, especially the game that sticks out to me was the Villanova game was disgusting. It just wasn't good. And, you know, you lose to Oregon, and that's the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess. You lose to Oregon, go get blown out by UCLA. Yeah, you had a chance to win late, but you got blown out by UCLA, a dude who didn't even know how to use a headset to call plays. No shade. UCLA's balling right now. But then, I mean, you lose to Northwestern at home. How is... And, you know, I do hate when I'm, you know, watching... And Florida does it with Billy Napier. Every coach has... Oklahoma State did it with Gundy. You know, just yelling and booing at the coach as he walks through the tunnel. I think that's just Bush League stuff. I mean... Yeah, it sucks you're mad in the moment, but have some professionalism. The dude's probably pissed too, and he knows. So, I mean, be a human being. But I understand sports gets very emotional, so I guess I can understand. But overall, I don't think it was a failure at Penn State. I mean, to go 104-45 in 12 years, 12, I guess 11 and a half technically, but 12 years is impressive. And if I was James Franklin, where I'd go from here is I'd go into media. Your stock never lowers in media. I don't think. Obviously, it's not a college football example, but John Gruden. Everybody was trying to get John Gruden out of the booth, and they finally did. Everything happened with him, but it's just a pretty good case study. Also, I mean, Dan Mullen. Everybody, it seemed like every time a job was open, Dan Mullen's name was thrown in there. So, you know, it's a possibility. If I was him, I'd take a few years, collect that buyout money, $49 million. That's why I'm so surprised they fired him. That's because nowadays people don't understand buyout money isn't just money to just be thrown around anymore. That's $49 million that could go into NIL, facilities, all that stuff. So I don't think you'll see as many coaches that get fired mid-season anymore, or who won't have a super long leash just because the buyout money is now an issue to have to raise. But he'll be collecting that check. I'd just chill for a little bit till the perfect job of my liking opens up. If I'm James Franklin, I'll wait until the absolute perfect job that I want comes open and fire at that opportunity. And obviously he's going to have to change some things because it didn't work out at Penn State after it really, really should have, it seemed. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning into the video. James Franklin fired by Penn State. Say a prayer for him and his family because I'm sure it's going to be very tough. But I appreciate you guys watching. God bless.